Still behind bars as we speak after a judge denied his request for bail a second time. And the place where he's locked up now getting a lot of attention. The Metropolitan Detention Center, the only federal jail in New York City, is known for violence, poor conditions, and a string of celebrity detainees. And Diddy's attorneys want him out. NBC News' Yasmin Youssian has more.
From his $48 million Miami mansion to hell on earth where chaos reigns. Just some of the words used to describe the Metropolitan Detention Center where Sean Diddy Combs is now being held without bail after pleading not guilty to sex trafficking and racketeering charges.
Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct.
He is not the first high-profile inmate to pass through these walls. Ghislaine Maxwell, R. Kelly, Pharma Bro, Martin Shkreli, and crypto fraudster Sam Bankman-Fried, all as they waited for their federal criminal trials, called this jail home. But the conditions of the prison are far from homey, notoriously described as, quote, dreadful, as one judge put it. Some of the bench have even moved away from sending non-violent defendants there. And violence is not the only issue. Accusations of medical neglect, staffing shortages, smuggling of drugs, some allegedly facilitated by employees. At least 6 staff members charged with crimes in the last 5 years, according to the AP. Some accused of accepting...
It's a tale that has captured the attention of headlines worldwide. Shay, once heralded as a music industry titan Diddy, is now embroiled in a storm so intense that it could permanently destroy his legacy. However, even more startling is the recent revelation involving Jay-Z, another legendary figure in the hip-hop industry.
Is going to mandate that they are responsible for your well-being. They have to ensure the safety of your well-being.
Occupy the streets until they get heat.
In the winter of 2019, protests over a power outage left inmates without light or heat for a week in the cold.
Understand how cold it must be in those cells, and not to have any electricity, any lights, and to not be able to communicate with your family is just inhumane.
The prison has about 1,200 detainees and is the only federal prison in the nation's largest city. The DOJ shut down New York City's other federal jail, the Metropolitan Correctional Center, back in 2021, 2 years after Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide there. A Bureau of Prisons spokesman telling NBC News they, quote, take seriously addressing the staffing and other challenges at MDC Brooklyn, adding the director appointed an urgent action team and they've increased staffing.
MDC has historically had tremendous problems and the problems aren't resolved.
Combs' lawyers originally hoping he could await trial under house arrest at his mansion, now arguing for him to be moved to a prison in New Jersey in the lead up to this trial, citing the prison's poor conditions, violence, and deaths. On Wednesday, his lawyer said he was being held in a special housing unit with an extra level of security.
These two powerhouses of the entertainment world are now embroiled in allegations that go beyond anything anyone could have imagined. Let's dive into the dark and twisted tale of what's unfolding as Diddy faces worsening treatment in prison and Jay-Z comes under intense scrutiny.
Has been denied bail in connection with the sexual abuse and sex trafficking charges he faces. And as Les Trent reports, the music mogul who once traveled by private jet to all those mansions is now in a jail that is notorious for its bad living conditions.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs spent his first night behind bars inside a facility that is being called hell on earth. The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn is notorious for its appalling living conditions and rampant violence. How bad is it inside this federal lockup? There have been 2 murders, 4 suicides, and numerous stabbings and lockdowns in recent years. It's so out of control inside that 4 federal judges are reportedly refusing to send any more prisoners here. Donald Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen, spent a harrowing year in federal custody. He says for someone used to a life of luxury like Diddy, prison life is a severe shock.
You have a desk, you have a plastic chair, you have your bed with a 1.5-inch mattress, no pillow, and you also have a locker. So you basically have 3 feet by 5 feet to move around. So you have a basic 15 square feet. It is a horrible, horrible place.
Diddy's lawyers were so eager to keep him out of jail, they offered his palatial $48 million home in Miami Beach and his private jets as bail. Today, they are even offering to restrict female visitors to his homes, except for his mother, daughters, and the mothers of his children if he is released. They told the judge the jail he was being sent to is dreadful, dirty, inhuman, and an ongoing tragedy.
How's your dad doing? How's your dad doing?
Family members appeared somber as they arrived at federal court in Manhattan today in another attempt to get out on bail. The judge cited Diddy's history of violent temper and potential intimidation of witnesses as reasons for keeping him behind bars. Diddy's former protege, singer Aubrey O'Day, is celebrating Diddy's downfall today. I feel validated, a win for women all over the world.
Combs has pled not guilty. Those were the only words he uttered in court yesterday.
Diddy's life behind bars is no red carpet affair. Far from the opulence and luxury he once flaunted, his current reality is stark cold and unrelenting. Reports suggest that his time in prison is becoming increasingly difficult. He's been subjected to harsh conditions, isolation, and, if sources are to be believed, a level of animosity from fellow inmates and prison staff alike. It's a far cry from the power and control he once wielded in the music industry.
Hell on earth, where chaos reigns. Just some of the words used to describe the Metropolitan Detention Center where Sean Diddy Combs is now being held without bail after pleading not guilty to sex trafficking and racketeering charges.
Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct.
He is not the first high-profile inmate to pass through these walls. Ghislaine Maxwell, R. Kelly, Pharma Bro Martin Shkreli, and crypto fraudster Sam Bankman-Fried, all as they waited for their federal criminal trials, called this jail home. But the conditions of the prison are far from homey, notoriously described as, quote, dreadful, as one judge put it. Some on the bench have even moved away from sending nonviolent defendants there. In April, a group of detainees that prosecutors said were MS-13 gang members in court documents stabbed an inmate 44 times in an attack caught on camera. 2 shivs were recovered from the attack. You see them here. The victim survived. And in the last 3 years alone, 4 inmates have died by suicide. And violence is not the only issue. Accusations of medical neglect, staffing shortages, smuggling of drugs, some allegedly facilitated by employees. At least 6 staff members charged with crimes in the last 5 years, according to the AP. Some accused of accepting bribes and providing contraband.
I've had clients describe NBC as hell, as the worst conditions they've been in.
Lance A. Clark is a federal defense attorney who's been there many times.
Now, if the government is going to mandate that they are responsible for your well-being, they have to ensure the safety of your well-being.
Occupy the streets until they get heat.
In the winter of 2019, protests over a power outage left inmates without light or heat for a week in the cold.
I understand how cold it must be in those cells, and not to have any electricity, any lights, and to not be able to communicate with your family is just inhumane.
The prison has about 1,200 detainees and is the only federal prison in the nation's largest city. The DOJ shut down New York City's other federal jail, the Metropolitan Correctional Center, back in 2021, 2 years after Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide there. A Bureau of Prisons spokesman telling NBC News they, quote, take seriously addressing the staffing and other challenges at MDC Brooklyn, adding the director appointed an urgent action team and they've increased staffing.
The MDC has historically had tremendous problems, and the problems aren't resolved.
Combs' lawyers originally hoping he could await trial under house arrest at his mansion, now arguing for him to be moved to a prison in New Jersey in the lead up to this trial, citing the prison's poor conditions, violence, and deaths. On Wednesday, his lawyer said he was being held in a special housing unit with an extra level of security.
Yasmin's back with us now. So what is next? Is he going to be in jail in this facility until the trial begins? Is there a chance he could, get moved earlier than that?
As of this moment, as of this hour, as of today, yes. But of course, as I mentioned earlier, they're going to be appealing this thing next to the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals to overturn the judge's order here to try and get him actually released to his mansion on $50 million bail, wanting a GPS monitoring system, limited visits from family members, friends, so on and so forth. That is what they're proposing because of course, the violence I talked about in that piece inside these jail walls. They also, in the meantime, Hal, want to get him moved to a jail and/or prison in New Jersey. The judge so far has essentially said that is that.
But why has Diddy's treatment worse than some believe? It's due to the severity of the charges against him. Federal prosecutors have painted a damning picture of Diddy, alleging that he orchestrated drug-fueled C***'s parties used vile *Messi NTC to maintain control over his victims and ran a SEAU's trafficking operation on a scale that is almost unimaginable.
He shut down New York City's other federal jail, the Metropolitan Correctional Center, back in 2021, 2 years after Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide there. A Bureau of Prisons spokesman telling NBC News they, quote, take seriously addressing the staffing and other challenges at MDC Brooklyn, adding the director appointed an urgent action team and they've increased staffing.
The MDC has historically had tremendous problems, and the problems aren't resolved.
Combs' lawyers originally hoping he could await trial under house arrest at his mansion, now arguing for him to be moved to a prison in New Jersey in the lead up to this trial, citing the prison's poor conditions, violence, and deaths. On Wednesday, his lawyer said he was being held in a special housing unit with an extra level of security.
Yasmin's back with us now. So what is next? Is he going to be in jail in this facility until the trial begins? Is there a chance he could, get moved earlier than that?
As of this moment, as of this hour, as of today, yes. But of course, as I mentioned earlier, they're going to be appealing this thing next to the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals to overturn the judge's order here to try and get him actually released to his mansion on $50 million bail, wanting a GPS monitoring system, limited visits from family members, friends, so on and so forth. That is what they're proposing because of course, the violence I talked about in that piece inside these jail walls. They also, in the meantime, Hal, want to get him moved to a jail and or prison in New Jersey. The judge so far has essentially said that is up to the Bureau of Prisons to make that decision. Nonetheless, it's all going to be on appeals leading up to the trial. His next court appearance, by the way, October 9th. So looking for that, of course, and any decisions coming out from the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals on this order.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social.
The evidence against him is said to be overwhelming, and the sheer weight of public opinion has made him one of the most vilified figures in the country.
On the day of his 51st birthday, let's take a look at this.
Happy birthday, Daddy.
Love you too. Love you, Papa. Can't wait to see y'all. Can't wait to see y'all. I'm really proud of y'all. Proud of y'all, especially the girls. I mean, all of y'all. Just for being strong. Thank y'all for being strong. Thank y'all for being about the side of the world. We don't love y'all. You're the best family in the world.
Miss Stacey Schneider, we saw that, obviously designed, put out on social media, designed to make him look like a good father, good family man, the last person who could possibly be guilty of these incredibly serious things he's been charged with. We also, when he was at the bail hearing, and I'll come to that in a moment with you, he seemed to wink and laugh at the media. His own behavior here, how relevant will that be in the general mix?
So prosecutors raised that video we just saw with the family as him trying to allegedly tamper with the jury pool and create this image, but I don't really buy it. And as a criminal defense attorney, I don't think there was much wrong with the family video. He wasn't signaling to witnesses in the case. He wasn't commenting on the evidence in the case. He wasn't even declaring his innocence. He was merely sending out a video of his family wishing him well for his birthday. And when he goes to trial, there is no doubt in my mind, and I know as an attorney I would tell him to do this, I would have his family sitting in the front row behind him showing their support. It's very important that you show that people are vested in the outcome of the case, that you have family members involved, and it's important. This man is in media, and I don't blame him for trying to sway the optics and show he's a good family guy. I think that has no effect on the outcome of the case, and it should not affect bail. But he's done plenty of other things that are going to go against his getting bail, and this should be the least of it.
Yeah, I mean, on the issue of the bail, the court rejected the idea that Diddy be kept under house arrest at his island home in Miami. The district judge said that's not going to work. However, the judge did seem to potentially open the possibility to confinement with around-the-clock security at a 3-bedroom apartment on Manhattan's Upper East Side. I mean, from everything you've gleaned from this case, Stacey, how likely is it that he will be let out on bail?
So I'm calling it 50-50 right now. The reason they didn't want to use the Miami house is because it actually has a boat deck or a boat pier behind the house, and they were worried about people coming up behind the house. The New York City apartment, which is this 3-bedroom apartment in New York, which isn't that large for a mogul like that, which is interesting. But that they're going to hire private people.
Adding fuel to the fire is the revelation of over 100 alleged victims planning to take legal action against Diddy. It's a tidal wave of accusations, each one more horrifying than the last. His defense team has maintained his innocence, claiming that he's the victim of a coordinated smear campaign. However, with his criminal trial to begin in May 2025, the odds seem stacked against him.
Hiring private people to guard that, to monitor who comes in and out, who he can speak to from the home, what phone lines are available to him. But the problem is, I don't know that the judge is going to give him that break, which most defendants would get with these types of charges. I mean, such an unusual case. This isn't like he's a danger to the community at large. He's a danger to the limited number of people he allegedly engaged in. But I think that the use of his resources, extending out, and his alleged attempts while he's in prison to reach out to witnesses potentially, is going to hamper the judge's decision to let this happen. But in all fairness, you probably should give him that opportunity based on the charges.
Officer Tatum, I mean, during the hearing, the defense lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, disputed the prosecutor's contention that a 2016 hotel surveillance video of Diddy assaulting his former girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura, we mentioned this earlier, known as Cassie, obviously, showed there was a risk he would act violently if released. I mean, you know, it wasn't just that video. We've had a lot of women come forward and talk about either what happened to them or to other people, other women, involving his, his tendency to commit acts of violence against women. This idea of whether he's a danger to the public, he's obviously a violent guy. We saw it with our own eyes. When you drag a woman through a hotel corridor, oblivious to the fact there are cameras, and just start beating her up, that's a dangerous guy, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I think he's conditionally dangerous, meaning that when he's in situations where his anger gets the best of him, he lash out on people and can really do some damage. Obviously, we saw on camera one incident. I'm sure he beat her all the time. At least that's what she alleged. So I think that when they're looking at whether or not he's consistently violent, it's not like he's in the streets doing drive-by shootings and got bodies on his record. So they're not going to consider him to be a present dangerous person. However, his financial means and the history of alleged things that he's been involved in, which using other people to commit crimes, is the thing that I think they should be most worried about. He got a ton of money. He got a ton of influence. The reason people have been quiet so many years is because I believe, and this is my opinion, I think that they're afraid for their lives. I mean, he can get hitmen and come out and touch you.
Right.
And he's rapped about it. He's been involved with situations like that. People think he has something to do with Tupac's death. And so I think that they should consider that him being out could cause him to use other people to act on his behalf, to do violent things to get him out. He has a lot to lose. And people that have a lot to lose will do crazy things.
Yeah, I mean, Lord Jamar, I mean, look, he's always portrayed himself, yes, as a mogul, but also as a bit of a gangster. And I always think when people show you who they are, you should believe them. You know, I do think that what Officer Tatum said there has got merit. I think this is a dangerous, violent character who's used to control, whose life is currently spiraling out of control. And as such, I would think he might represent a danger to people, particularly those, as Officer Tatum said, who might want to testify against him.
I mean, you know, as someone that knew him, like, coming up as a teenager, he didn't have a gangster type of background. But I must say, once you get money and influence and all this...
And just when you thought this saga couldn't get any darker, enter Jay-Z. Known to many as a billionaire entrepreneur and musical genius, Jay-Z now finds himself accused of a crime so heinous it defies belief. According to a civil lawsuit, Jay-Z and Diddy allegedly raw asterisk at a 13-year-old girl. During an after-party following the MTV Video Music Awards in 2000, the complaint states that other celebrities witnessed the assault that did nothing to intervene.
Made her feel woozy. Then she says Combs and Carter took turns raping her while a female celebrity watched.
Jay-Z comes in and raped me. He at that point I was fighting, trying to get away from him, and he put his hand over my mouth and told me to stop it, cut the.
After the alleged rape, she says she ran to a gas station where she called her father, who picked her up and drove her home.
We rode home in silence. He didn't ask me what happened. He didn't ask me what I did or where I was.
In an interview with NBC News, her father said he could not verify the claims. Quote, "I felt like I would remember that, and I don't. I have a lot going on, but I mean, that's something that would definitely stick in my mind," he said. When we asked the woman about the contradictions in a phone interview on Friday, she said that she stands by her statements. "I have made some mistakes," she said. "Honestly, what is the clearest is what happened to me." The inconsistencies in her account of an incident alleged to have happened 24 years ago does not necessarily mean the allegations are false. The accuser's attorney, Tony Busby, said, "Because we have interrogated her intensely, she has even agreed to submit to a polygraph. This has been extremely distressing for her, to the point she has experienced seizures and had to seek medical treatment due to the stress." In a statement to NBC News, Sean Carter said, "This incident didn't happen, and yet he filed it in court and doubled down in the press. True justice is coming. We fight from victory, not for victory."
Is any part of you scared coming out against such powerful people?
Yeah, I'm scared of what could happen, but I'm more afraid of letting it eat me alive from the inside out than I am of, being chastised by their fans.
All right, Chloe Malas joining us now live. Chloe, we just heard a very strongly worded statement from Jay-Z. What else are you hearing from him and his team?
Yes, so his attorney said that they're going to ask the court to, quote, dismiss this frivolous case. And also moments ago, we heard from Diddy's legal team, and I want to read you some of what they said. They said, quote, "This is the beginning of the end of this shameful money grab." And remember, he remains behind bars at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, and his criminal trial begins in May.
All right, very thorough reporting there. Chloe, thank you so much for that.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
Jay-Z has vehemently denied these allegations, calling them a blatant blackmail attempt. In a fiery statement, he accused the lawyer representing the alleged victim of attempting to extort him. "These allegations are so heinous in nature," Jay-Z said, "that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away."
Tonight, Jay-Z fighting back against a rape accusation. His attorney filing a letter to the judge to dismiss the rape lawsuit against his client, citing an NBC News exclusive that found inconsistencies with the accuser's story.
You should always advocate for yourself.
It comes after our interview with a 38-year-old mother from Alabama who accuses Sean Diddy Combs and Sean Jay-Z Carter of raping her when she was 13 years old. She asked us not to reveal her identity.
What made you want to come forward?
Because I think that I've been quiet long enough.
She says that she went to the MTV Video Music Awards in 2000. The woman says she spoke to Combs' limo driver, who offered her a ride to an after party. She says at the party she spoke to musician Benji Madden and his brother.
I'm talking to Benji Madden about his tattoo. That's the Last Supper.
In a statement to NBC News, a representative for the Maddens confirmed that they did not attend the 2000 VMAs and that they were on tour in the Midwest at that time. At the after party, she says she had a drink that made her feel woozy. Then she says Combs and Carter both raped her. She says she ran to a gas station where she called her father, who picked her up.
We rode home in silence. He didn't ask me what happened.
In an interview with NBC News, her father said he could not verify the claims. "I feel like I would remember that, and I don't," he said. When we asked the woman about the contradictions in a phone interview on Friday, she said she stands by her statements. "I have made some mistakes," she said, in remembering what happened 24 years ago. "Honestly, what is the clearest is what happened to me." In a statement to NBC News, Sean Carter said, "This incident didn't happen. True justice is coming. We fight from victory, not for victory." A representative for Combs called the suit a shameless money grab.
Is any part of you scared coming out against such powerful people?
I'm scared of what could happen, but I'm more afraid of letting it eat me alive from the inside out.
Chloe Malas, NBC News.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
But the lawyer Tony Busby is standing firm. He claims that his client never sought money from Jay-Z and only pursued confidential mediation. Busby also emphasized the seriousness of the allegations, insisting that the truth will come out in court. It's a legal battle that promises to be as explosive as it is heartbreaking.
Yeah, an anonymous accuser identified only as Jane Doe made the accusation in a civil lawsuit on Sunday. It alleges that the assault happened after she was driven to an MTV Video Music Awards afterparty back in 2000. In a statement to NBC News, Jay-Z, his real name is Sean Carter, called the accusation idiotic, adding, quote, "These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever should commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. Would you not agree?" Attorneys representing Combs also dismissed the lawsuit, calling it a shameless publicity stunt. Combs is currently behind bars at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center after federal prosecutors charged him in September with racketeering and sex trafficking.
NBC News legal analyst Danny Ceballos is here to break down some of this for us. Danny, good to have you with us. These are serious allegations. Tell us a little more about what accusations the accuser's making here that happened back in 2000, and just typically how a case like this then would play out in a civil court.
According to the amended complaint, and when I file amended complaints, it's because new information has come up. Maybe there are new defendants and new claims, and that's sort of what's happening here, but I'll explain the difference. This amended complaint alleges that this 13-year-old plaintiff, when she was 13, wanted to go to the VMA Award.
As these allegations unfold, the ripple effects are being felt across the entertainment industry. Diddy and Jay-Z have long been symbols of success and influence, but now their legacies are under threat. Fans are grappling with feelings of betrayal, while critics argue that this is a long overdue reckoning for a culture that has often turned a blind eye to misconduct in the pursuit of fame and fortune.
Well, it's been 1 week since the arrest of Sean Diddy Combs on federal charges, and living behind bars is the exact opposite of what he has been used to. The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, it's a place that's been described as hell on earth. Fox 5's Lisa Evers is at MDC right now with more on this. Lisa, what's the update?
Well, Bianca, we're here at the Metropolitan Detention Center, the MDC. It's a federal jail that houses criminal kingpins and killers who are awaiting the resolution of their cases. Now, for the first time in his life, accused sex trafficker Sean Diddy Combs spent the weekend here behind bars in solitary confinement and on suicide watch. MDC is a tough place, so rough you can hear detainees shouting even on the streets. There are constant lockdowns due to violent outbreaks, but former detainees I spoke with tell me that the experience here for Diddy will be different. Like other first-time celebrity defendants, he's reportedly under suicide watch, basically naked except for hospital paper, throwaway clothing, and rubber shower shoes. He's under 24-hour watch and kept separate from all other inmates. He has a bed with a blanket and no pillow. There are no electronic devices, but if he's lucky, he'll have the use of a radio for a short time. After being denied bail twice by 2 federal judges, he's expected to stay here until his trial, and this could limit his ability to prepare a defense. Many criminal defense attorneys say he's fighting a mountain of evidence and tough prosecution from the government's all-female team. I spoke with federal trial attorney Philip Hamilton, and he tells me when a defendant is behind bars at MDC, it's much more difficult to work on their defense no matter who they are. There is no private VIP area for lawyer consults. Here's what Hamilton told me.
Even in terms of just being able to converse with his lawyer, he's going to be doing it down in the regular waiting room with everyone else. You know, I can tell you from my experience there were times when I would go to interview clients, let's say during the course of R. Kelly's trial, I would see him right there speaking with his lawyers, just the same as everyone else was down there speaking with their lawyers and visiting with their family members. There's no special wing.
Now, other defense attorneys tell me that with this particular jail, there are other issues as well that present difficulties to putting together an effective defense, namely the lack of reliable Wi-Fi or high-speed Wi-Fi. And in a case like Diddy's, which prosecutors say has hundreds of terabytes of data involved in the evidence, that could present a real problem. Now, he can continue to appeal the no bail decision, but that may take too long. We'll have much more for you on this on the Fox 5 News at 5. Live from MDC, I'm Lisa Evers, Fox 5 News. Bianca back.
Uncomfortable issues about the music business itself have also been brought up by the lawsuits and criminal allegations. How many other people were aware of these alleged crimes? How many people opted to remain quiet, putting their jobs before fairness? The dead silence of those who purportedly saw the attack detailed, and the complaint serves as a reminder that complicity may be just as harmful as the actual conduct.
Jay-Z, whose real name is Sean Carter. A new civil lawsuit is accusing him of raping a 13-year-old girl with Sean Diddy Combs, which they both deny. The suit claims the alleged assault happened after the Video Music Awards in 2000, the year Jay-Z was nominated for Big Pimpin'. The mogul, husband of megastar Beyonce, calling the accusation heinous. Now his lawyers also firing back, saying these are false, unfounded allegations. The lawsuit was originally filed in October against Combs, Jay-Z's longtime friend, and an unnamed Celebrity A. But now it has been refiled, naming Celebrity A as Jay-Z.
There is nothing unusual about the timing other than the fact that the client authorized us to amend the lawsuit and name Jay-Z as a defendant.
The anonymous woman, who was 13 at the time, described in the lawsuit as being drugged and raped at an MTV VMAs after-party she says Combs hosted. According to the suit, she recalls accepting a drink that made her feel woozy and lightheaded before she says she was raped by Jay-Z and then Combs in a bedroom as an unnamed female celebrity watched. Now Jay-Z accusing the woman's attorney of trying to blackmail him in a demand letter, suggesting the attorney had tried to seek a settlement first.
These kinds of demand letters are sent on a daily basis across the United States, and attempting to attack me to take the focus off of the alleged perpetrator won't work, and it won't intimidate us.
Sean Combs remains behind bars awaiting trial on various federal charges, including sex trafficking, which he has pleaded not guilty. BuzzFeed has filed a string of civil suits against Combs, which Combs' attorneys have dismissed as shameless publicity stunts.
And Chloe, we don't know the identity of the accuser, which was the crux of a filing today.
That's exactly right, Lester. The accuser is currently listed as Jane Doe in the lawsuit, but just hours ago, Jay-Z's attorney filed a motion demanding that her identity be revealed or have this case completely dismissed. Now, ultimately, this will be the judge's decision, but it's also possible that the accuser, who is now an adult, could come forward and reveal her identity on her own, Lester.
All right, Chloe Malas, thank you. Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
And let's not forget the broader implications for Jay-Z. While he has not been criminally charged, the mere association with such allegations is enough to cast a shadow over his empire, from his music to his business ventures. Everything he's built is now at risk. His marriage to Beyoncé, one of the most celebrated unions in the entertainment world, is also under intense scrutiny. How will this affect her image and career? Only time will tell.
She was just 13, can now proceed in her lawsuit without publicly disclosing her name, at least for the time being. A judge in New York now says the woman can remain anonymous because to substantial interest from the public, and that's the reason here. However, she may need to reveal her identity at a later date to allow defense lawyers to prepare for trial. Meanwhile, Combs, currently in jail awaiting a trial on federal sex trafficking charges, denies the claims. Jay-Z says the accuser is trying to blackmail him.
As these two titans of the music industry face their respective battles, one thing is certain: the world is watching every new piece of evidence, every court hearing, every statement will be dissected and debated. The media frenzy shows no signs of slowing down, and the public's appetite for updates on this scandal seems insatiable.
Jay-Z saying the rapper raped a 13-year-old girl back in 2000. The suit alleges that Jay-Z, whose real name is Sean Carter, raped the girl after the Video Music Awards alongside Sean Diddy Combs. The victim says she was invited to an after party after being spotted by a limo driver and was then assaulted by both rappers. Jay-Z is calling this a blackmail attempt. He released a statement on social media responding to the lawsuit, and Texas attorney behind the legal action saying in part, these allegations are so heinous in nature, you have made a terrible error in judgment, thinking that all celebrities are the same. I look forward to showing you just how different.
This isn't just a story about two men and their alleged crimes. It's a story about power, privilege, and the consequences of unchecked ambition. It's a story that forces us to confront Uncomfortable truths about the industries we admire and the people we idolize. Most importantly, it's a story about justice for the alleged victims, for the accused, and for a society that demands accountability.
Sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution. The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice. Let me say a little bit more about the charges. The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years, and in a variety of ways. As alleged, Combs used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sexual performances with male commercial sex workers, some of whom he transported or caused to be transported over state lines. Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics, such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB, which Combs distributed to the victims to keep them obedient and compliant. As alleged, when Combs didn't get his way, he was violent, and he subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse so that they would participate in the freak-offs, and that Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair. On one occasion in March of 2016, that conduct was captured on video and later reported in the media. Specifically, Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a victim in a Los Angeles hotel when the victim was attempting to flee. As alleged, these assaults often resulted in injuries to the victims, which took days or weeks to heal. In addition to the violence, the indictment alleges that Combs threatened and coerced victims to get them to participate in the freak-offs. He used the embarrassing and sensitive recordings he made of the freak-offs as collateral against the victims. And the indictment alleges that he maintained control over the victims in several ways, including by giving them drugs, by giving and threatening to take away financial support or housing, by promising them career opportunities, by monitoring their whereabouts, and even by dictating their physical appearance. Because of all of this, the indictment alleges that the victims did not believe they could refuse Combs without risking their security or facing more abuse. The indictment also alleges other acts of violence undertaken by Combs and others, including violence against witnesses to his abuse, kidnapping, and arson. The indictment alleges that on more than one occasion, Combs carried or brandished.
As we wait for the next chapter in this unfolding drama, one can't help but wonder, will Diddy and Jay-Z ever recover from this? Can their legacies be salvaged, or are they destined to become airy tales? And perhaps the most pressing question of all, how many more stories like this are waiting till they be told?
This is from real victims, and he causes real harm. If this lawyer has any sense, he's going to dismiss this claim. I don't know whether he has any sense.
Busby, who has filed more than 20 lawsuits against Combs, told NBC News that he is continuing to vet the accuser's claims and that she has agreed to undergo a polygraph this week. A representative for Combs called the suit a shameless money grab.
Since your attorneys refiled the lawsuit against Combs naming Jay-Z, he has come out with a very long statement saying that this is completely not true and that this is all about trying to get money from him. What do you say about that?
I haven't asked for a dime from him. It's not everything is motivated by money, and I'm sorry that he feels that it is.
This woman also told us on camera last week that this isn't about money.
Well, let's be serious. A lawyer like this is not sending out these letters not to make money. He wants money and fame. He doesn't care about truth and justice, and that's what's going on.
Chloe Malas joins us in studio. So, Chloe, explain this to me. The attorney for the plaintiffs, Tony Busby, right? he is sticking by his client, even though you've been able to report these inconsistencies and they are now out there in the public?
Yes, and because of our exclusive report here on Top Story, he's actually going to have Jane Doe do a polygraph test. He says he hasn't done it yet, but that they are going to be doing it this week. He also said in a statement to us moments ago that their conduct throughout all of this has been beyond reproach and will continue to be, even though that's not what you're hearing Alex Spiro, Jay-Z's attorney, what he's saying. Also, I just want to show you, Jay-Z's team created a timeline. Obviously, they are, even though this took place allegedly 24 years ago, right? They are saying that there is just no way that he could have been at the VMAs. He's on camera there until the end of the VMAs, which ended right after 11, and that there are photographs of him at the Lotus Club in Manhattan, and they say he was there till 3 a.m. and then he went to the music studio. So again, they are adamant that
he was not at that party.
That he was not at any sort of after party.
I do want to ask you this. What is Jay-Z's sort of legal team strategy in describing the relationship between Diddy and Jay-Z? Because there are a ton of photos of them over the years, obviously before these allegations came out.
And this civil suit, Tom, originally just named Combs, and then it was amended last weekend to include Jay-Z. What Alex Spiro said to me today is that although publicly Jay-Z supported Diddy, they were not best friends. They were not as close as you thought that they were. So in terms of knowledge of what went on allegedly at these white parties and what took place allegedly in these civil suits and the criminal charge and the trial, he says Jay-Z has no knowledge of any of that. Again, he publicly supported him as a fellow musician and someone where they came up together in the industry, but that they weren't as close as you thought.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social